Hello, Fort Mill. We're back. My name is Mr. Young, and I am glad to have with you one of my new friends, Steve. He's going to talk to us a little bit about his career and give you all some really good advice. So, Steve, how you doing today?
I'm doing okay, Mr. Young, and I do appreciate you having me on the show, on your show.
Not a problem. I tell you what, let's go ahead and get started. Why don't you tell our viewers a little bit about yourself and about your career?
Sure. Well, let me start from the start here, so to speak. I did the traditional thing, went to college right after high school. It was funny because in high school, we actually had some business courses, and I thought they were, being at my high school is pretty academic, and I always thought, they were putting you on the back burner, that they didn't have much merit. Back then that's how it was. I went to high school in the late 70s. So I took the business courses and I got interested in business. It gave me a good opening to what the world was like. And I also held down jobs while I was in high school. So I went to college and I knew exactly what I wanted to do. I wanted to get into business. I didn't know where I wanted to go into it, but I took, economics and, all the core business courses, marketing and all that wonderful stuff to get my feet wet to see what was out there. Well, I knew about sales and I thought this is great. You can be outside all day. You don't really have to answer to anybody. You go in the office, you get your orders or what have you. You have a short meeting, and then you go out and you call on clients and you make money. I thought this is great. I can communicate with people all day. I'm free in a sense. I'm independent, which is the nature of my personality. So I did that for many years. The thing was, I never really felt passionate about a product that I sold. And I think that's the case with most salespeople out there. So they just learn the product and they sell it. Plus, I got to admit, I wasn't that great of a salesperson. I don't know if I wasn't trained right or I wasn't listening, but I just go in there and when I sat down with my prospective customer, I just started talking about my product. I didn't ask them questions to come up with a solution. Well, I got better at this. And then I became a pretty good salesperson. I was number one a few times in some of the companies that I worked for. I was promoted a couple times into sales management. And then as I went along, this is many years, 20 years, I spent 20 years in sales, and something kept eating at me. I wanted to do something more with my voice or my communication skills, rather. That's probably a better term. So somehow I found out that you could be a speaker. I was like, oh, this would be great. I love speaking in front of people. I never really had trepidation speaking in front of people. I mean, yeah, in high school and college, your peers are there and you're going, you don't want to look stupid, for lack of better terms. But in any case, so I had this thing nagging at me. And how was I going to use my voice? Well, it went on for like 2 or 3 years. And finally I said, okay, I got to do something about this. So to all you people out there, what I'm saying here is I'm just going to preface this a little bit. Follow your true passions early on. I mean, I should use this for the end. But anyway, something was nagging at me. You got to follow that internal nagging. And what it was I wanted to speak in front of people. So I thought the next logical thing to do since I was in sales was to become a sales trainer. So I took a job as a sales trainer for a little company called Husqvarna. You ever heard of them?
Actually, does it sounds familiar?
A huge international company.
Yeah, I thought so.
Yeah, so motorcycles, motorbikes, chainsaws, all outdoor power equipment, the top of the crop. So I took that job and I was always pretty good speaking in front of people, but I needed to learn how to think on my feet. So I thought, okay, this would be a good opportunity. And it was. I went out west for 3 months on contract with Husqvarna and I learned how to think on my feet. I learned how to teach people how to sell power equipment. These were retail sales employees for Sears. And I went around the entire West Coast. I had all the states out there. It's gone for 3 solid months. Became pretty good at it when that contract ended. I thought, now where am I going with this? So I took the next logical step. I became a seminar presenter for a company called Fred Pryor. And they do remedial seminars like HR and I don't know, just anything you could think of, just general seminars, sales, communications. I did social media marketing because I had an advertising background, so I thought that'd be logical. Well, I got in there and I loved it. 6 hours a day, I was speaking in front of people. I just loved it. Well, then I thought it was time to move into something a little bit more to what I thought was my path to what I really wanted to do, where I wanted to take this, being that I was taking all these preliminary steps. And I worked for a couple leadership companies. So there, I really got into the meat and potatoes of speaking in front of people. I did team building events with, a couple hundred people, 100 people. I got to speak in front of those large groups and run them through exercises, and it was just great. And then I learned, and they also did public speaking training and time management and leadership training. So I learned all those, and of course, I was speaking in front of people, doing this the whole time. And I got a passion for enriching people, to helping them get over their fear of public speaking, not only get over the fear of public speaking, but to help them become more um, confident when they're standing up in front of people and more proficient. Now, my message to people out there that are looking for careers: don't start late like I did. Think about this stuff early, folks. When I was in high school, I could have, we had guidance counselors, but that really wasn't the way, that wasn't the path to go back then. But what you want to do is you want to look out for all your options. If you like communications, look into what I'm doing. If you like engineering, if you have a slant, if you're a technical person, explore that field. But don't think that this is going to come and just hit you upside of the head one day and go, this is what you should be doing. I mean, it sort of did with me. And I was in the field of communications, being in sales, and I could see the peripheries around there. But you really wanna discover what your passions are. What is it that you know what somebody told me one time? What do you think about most of the time? So I thought back, and in my bookshelf, 90% of the reading material I have there are self-improvement books.
So it was a natural fit.
It was, and it took me a little while to think, now, wait a minute, what am I going to do with this? Because I was looking over my bookshelf right just a second ago. And back then, let's say maybe 15 years ago, and how long have I been doing this? I've been in this business for about 14 years, to answer your question. And well, you didn't ask me the question, but I know that's a question you want to ask me.
It was coming, so I appreciate you.
You're welcome. And since that time, there are so many books out there on motivation. Everybody's in the business now. It's unbelievable. You've got you've got coaches, you've got people like me that teach skills, a core set of skills to help you be more proficient in your job. A lot of people come to me, a lot of my uh, the folks that go to that under my programs, they've either got a promotion, they're going to get a promotion, and they need to learn to speak in front of either their peers or their, I guess, for lack of a better term, subordinates. Excuse me. So that's one aspect. I mean, there's so many avenues you can use public speaking. I have people that come into my workshops that, I have companies too. I do companies, and a lot of people just, 70. The statistic is over 74% of the people are afraid to speak in front of groups. They're afraid to stand.
74%.
Huh?
74%.
Right about that. A little, I think, a little more.
Wow. Mm.
And then there's people out there that aren't afraid to speak in front of people, but they don't know how to be effective. And that's another dimension of it. So being an effective speaker is this part two. Part one is getting over your fear of public speaking, being comfortable up there. And number two is being effective. Excuse me. What other questions do you? Oh, what's challenging about my career?
Yeah. Yeah. What's challenging? What's the best thing about your career?
What's challenging is I own my own business, so of course it's getting business. Now, I've been on my own for about 6 years, and I made the mistake a couple of times of contracting with some other companies doing. I did sales training, recruiting, and training for a car dealership. Got caught up in that a little bit and slacked off on my marketing. And I actually worked for a stem cell company, contracted myself with those folks. So I would give 90-minute seminars around the US and Canada to enlighten people who are looking for remedies to traditional medicine where traditional medicine either failed or
Hmm.
they were considering it and they wanted another alternative. So here's another thing I'll tell folks out there. If you're going to do something, make sure you carve out just a little bit of time for that. If I had to go back and do it again, I would have, um, here I go with an that's a cardinal sin. It's supposed to pause, not then the audience thinks about the last thing you talked about or spoke about, the last words that came out of your mouth.
That's a really good tip.
Oh,
That's a really good tip.
I've got a whole bunch of them. So you know where people have a really hard time when when they stand up in front of an audience and they're looking at the audience and they see a sea of people. So I train people to look at the audience as a whole. If you look at them as a one big chunk, it changes your mindset a little bit. Takes a little bit of that fear out of
Okay.
it. And scanning the audience too. When you're talking, you should be scanning the audience anyway, so everybody feels like you're giving them their undivided attention. But it also takes a little pressure off you because you're not staring at any one person. I know that sounds a little counterproductive to what I said before, but scanning the audience and panning the audience really takes a lot of pressure off you. You don't feel like you're staring at, once again, a big crowd. You're just, you know, or any one person. Or if you sense out there, some people get nervous when they see somebody out in the crowd and they may have a discerning look on their face, but you don't know what they got on their mind. It could be some personal issue.
That's true. Mhm.
So challenging about my career, yes, getting business. And I've tried different modes. You know, there's social media marketing, obviously. I am an old fashioned. I do a lot of cold calling, like I did with you.
Right.
So I
And
do
it
a
got
lot
you here. So hey, it must work on some level.
of it does. It has its place. Now I do some things on LinkedIn and some of the other social media platforms. The path to my career, yes, I covered that.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Um,
So I
if
guess really, what's the best thing about what you do, about what you get to do?
Okay. The best thing about what I get to do is I actually like and love what I do.
Yeah.
I like it and love it. I can't think of doing any, and I never thought I would be in this position. Now, am I a millionaire? No, but you can obviously ratchet up your sales and everything. Excuse me. But I completely love what I do, and I like what it's important to like what you do and love what you do. It's not like you wake up. Well, you wake up every day and it just becomes natural. So I love what I do, and it took me a while to find it. But if you want to take the shortcut, folks, you know a lot of people. I actually went over to CPCC. Oh, I don't know, probably about 20 years ago. Talked to a career counselor, and I went back and forth with a couple different things I wanted to do because I really loved advertising. I was in advertising sales and I worked for a few ad agencies along the way. The problem with the ad agencies was I'm more of a closer, and that was a really long sales cycle, is relationship sales. And I tend to be more of a closer. So I just sold advertising where I could go and present whatever ad platform that I was representing at the time. And it was a one, two, maybe three at the most sales close. So I presented a product, either they wanted it or they didn't, or they had a good idea of, within a few days of if they wanted the product or not. It wasn't terribly long sales cycle. Excuse me.
Well, I tell you what, this has been so enlightening. I feel like you have given us a realistic path to a career, how it has had many different steps and has brought you to where you are right now. I love the transparency with the challenges and also just the passion and knowing that you love what you get to do. Last question.
Yep.
If you could get, if let's say that you have the entire population of Fort Mill High School together in one place,
Yep.
and you can
Excuse
tell
me.
us one piece of advice for our students regarding their career search, what would you say?
Well, when you're in high school, I'm going to tell you this right now because I was in the same place that you students are now. You think maybe it depends. Some students are serious about their career. Some students are trying to figure it out. I was a little bit. I was a slow. I was a. I'm a. God, I'm trying to put it. I'm trying to put it politely here. I was not that mature when I was in high school. Yes, I said I wanted to get into business, but I really didn't put a whole lot of thought in it. These days, it seems like kids have a little more. They've got more resources in school for this type of thing. But I want to emphasize to them, if you want to find out what you really want to do, and here's another thing too: try a few different things.
Yeah.
I was old school. They said you need to just be in one job and that's it. Okay, I was afraid to try a few different things, and you've got time. You've got time to do that, but keep in mind what your passion is. That's what you want to do, and try to relate that to a some type of career. That's what I did. Actually, I was on the radio for a little bit. I did some radio
Okay.
part time. Yeah, for a local college in Dallas, North Carolina. I had my own radio show, and I have my on when before podcast started. I was on internet radio. It was, and then I have now I have a podcast.
That's cool.
So
That
the
is so
voice thing has always been there with me. The passion to speak has always been there, whether it's been on the radio and sales or what have you. Find your true strength. Find something. I guess the question that these students need to ask themselves is, what do you really like to do? What is your passion? Now, okay, so it's riding motorcycles. You got to X some of those things out. Maybe you want to sell motorcycles. Maybe you want to own a motorcycle dealership, right? So I guess what I'm saying here is you can expand that passion if you just like I said, if you like riding motorcycles, then think about maybe opening a motorcycle shop to actually make some money and do pretty well. If you like sporting goods, but you're not good enough to be a pro, which most people are, sell sporting goods for a living. Open up a sporting goods store. Be a coach. Expand your mind and look into these other. Uh, what am I trying to say here? These other veins. Take what you like and expand on it. See where it will fit in a real career. And you can talk to your parents. You can talk to your friends, but you can talk to counselors. Get on the internet. There's so much information these days
yeah,
to
there is.
find your career, but don't hesitate. If I would have done this, if I would have done what I did 10 years before, it would have been great.
But you know what? You found your calling, you found your place, and now you're impacting lives. And I am so very thankful to have been able to meet with you today. Um, so hey, once again, I want to thank you sincerely for just giving us a little bit of your time today. Students, keep an eye out, a watch. We'll have more of these. Steve is our first one for this school year, first
Wow.
one for 2024. So hey, thank you for being number one, first out the gate, and we will see y'all next time. Y'all have a great day. Bye bye.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Eddie. Great being here. I appreciate the opportunity.
Yes, sir.
Okay.